Have you ever wondered what life's really like on a remote Alaskan island where one day you're milking goats and the next day your husband's shaking a green bucket at a bear? If that mix of chaos, grit, and laughter sounds like the kind of farming you'd love to wake up to every day, you're not alone. So many of us crave a life closer to the land, where food, family, and freedom actually mean something again. Welcome back to Dawn's Dirt. I'm Dawn, and I help families and freedom seekers build a farm-to-table business that feeds their communities and fuel their independence. Today, I'm joined by Kelli Foreman of Kodiak Goat Dairy, a fifth-generation farmer on Kodiak Island, Alaska, where the storms stop supply boats, cows eat kelp, and food freedom isn't just a dream, it's a daily choice. By the end of this episode, you'll learn how to create true food security in your own community, even when the system doesn't make it easy. Stick around because we're answering the question, what does real resilience look like when you have to build it yourself? So thanks so much for being here. I wanted to start off, before you introduce yourself, I wanted to start off with the bear story. Can you tell the bear story? I just saw it on your Instagram the other day with you and your husband and the bear.
Oh, I was gonna say we have multiple bear stories, but our most recent, somebody had called and told me that they had left a message. I was already in bed. I have a really early wake up time, and so my husband was still up, and he went to go put the goats in that were, I guess, up on the road. And it was actually not that. There was a bear that was up on the road, so he's shaking the feed, trying to find the goat that somebody said for sure. They said for sure, 100% you have a goat out. We did not. It was just a bear up in the woods. But I have seen, or they saw a deer. Like I always say, I see more deer from my office window than I do anything else. So anyway.
That's a hilarious story. I just was watching, on your Instagram page, and I was like, I could picture him like with the bucket, shaking a bucket of like, come bear, come bear. That's hilarious.
Good sport. I mean, like he is not a farmer at all, and he is so helpful. But those situations, I'm like, oh, he's never going to help again. No, he will, but it's just one of those things.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, well, thanks so much for being on the show today. And can you tell us, who are you and what do you do and who are you and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Kelli Foreman, and I'm up here on Kodiak Island in Alaska. We're actually the second largest island in the United States to the big island of Hawaii, and only because they have a volcano that continues to make more land for them. Otherwise, we would have them beat. However, we're not extremely inhabited. We have about 9,000 people around our community area. We have 7 outer-lying villages, and we do have the largest Coast Guard base in the nation here. We have a mixed species farm, and I run a registered raw milk, A2A2 cow, and goat milk dairy. I was grade A certified for about 6-7 years before I switched to the raw milk registry. And then we have beef cattle, hogs, chickens, ducks, geese, sheep, horses, mules, donkeys, dogs, and cats. I think that's it. I believe that's it.
And probably a couple of mice living in the farm too. So
Fortunately, rats are our main go here on Kodiak. Rats love the fishing boats, they love the beaches, and they love the farm, unfortunately.
oh, yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got your mainstay kind of is a dairy farm then, goats and cows.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's where, I remember when I told my dad, I'm a 5th-generation farm kid on both sides. And I told my dad, I was like, I'm going to start a dairy. And he's like, please don't do that. He said, I've never met a happy dairyman. Like, don't do that. And I did it anyway. So we started from the ground up. There was not a grade A certified goat dairy. There was only one other certified dairy in the state of Alaska. And so for a number of years, we were the only certified goat dairy at all. And we just built it up. We opened the book and figured out the rules and did it.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so you've got dairy and you've got all the other animals. Where do you market your like? How do you do this? Like, and you said you're on an island of 9,000 people. That's not a very big population. So how do you do this? How do you make your business run?
Yeah, so I will be honest, the farming is the side gig. I have a full-time job also. So all the farm side of things is a bonus, great part. But my husband also has a full-time gig and he has a car rental business and vacation rentals. And what was the other thing he does? Whale watching. Did I say whale watching tours? Anyway, so we have a number of things going on, and I always joke that he helps support my farming habits. But with that, Kodiak brings in over 95% of everything to this island. So boat or plane is how everything gets here. And there's very little food security. Within Alaska, period, it's very, very little. So for a while, I really thought, gosh, I want to even export around the state and sell my dairy products. And I have not. I don't. And that was part of becoming a raw milk registered dairy. You have to legally in Alaska sell direct from farm. Well, that was fine with me because I said, when we figure out food security on Kodiak Island, then potentially I'll move beyond that. But until we get to that point, I'm going to focus in on my local community. So we have an on-farm shop and folks come here. We actually host the farmers market every week. So in the summer, that's a big boost for us. Tourism in the summer it's not as much as mainland Alaska, but we still definitely get tourism. And so all of our stuff happens right down here at our little farm shop. And then I do little farm camps and activities and things like that as well. And so that helps. I don't really break even. However, that was not the goal. Like I wanted to have these items for my family anyway. It was a food, sustainability situation for us. And so this is a way to bring a little bit back in and also support the community.
Amazing. You know what? That you sound like a farmer because any farmer I know, like big or small or sideways or whatever, a lot of farmers, I'm in Canada or even through the States or wherever, a lot of farmers have jobs to support their farming habit. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is almost in farming anymore. And so, yeah, that's it is what it is. It's what you got to do. So I love this whole food security thing. Like, let's chat more about that. And I love that you've got a farmer's market. I did farmers markets for many, many years, selling my vegetables direct to consumers and, building the relationships and building the people. And that's why that's the part that I love the most about my former farm. And so that drove me. So let's chat more about food security. So you're way, way, way up north. You import probably a lot of your food. It's probably imported food is probably a little bit pricier than other things. So yeah, let's talk about that being so far north on an island and food security.
Yeah, I kind of joke, like we talked about COVID in a time where grocery shelves were empty. That's very normal in Kodiak. And that was before COVID. It's all the time. If we have a bad storm, the boat's going to bypass us and we are not going to have any fresh produce or really, it doesn't take too long before everything starts to disappear. And so for myself, growing up in Nebraska so I'm originally from Nebraska, growing up and then moving to Kodiak, I was like, this is crazy. I didn't want to go buy meat from the store. I just had never eaten store-bought meat before. And I was like, oh, this isn't that delicious and, variety of different things. And so we started to look at, gosh, what are ways that we can bring a little bit of food security here? And, like goats. Goats are a simple one. I had little boys at that point. I have 3 little boys. They're not so little anymore, but at the time I had 3 little boys and I was like, this is a great way for them to start to learn responsibility. And then then we brought in the beef cattle, and this is one of those things where I'm like, this is also ridiculous. We have our cattle on a nearby island. Our beef cattle are just next door across the channel. So we have to get to our cattle by boat after you get to Kodiak by boat. And right. So that provides, and they live 100% sustainably on that island. So they eat kelp and grass. And we've figured out a way with our land that we lease there that we do not have to supplement them ever. And that's in Alaska, which isn't so bad. When our butcher comes, we're getting ready to harvest this next week. His first time coming, he's like, "How did you finish these cows?" And I was like, "I did not finish them. Kelp from the ocean is how we finished them." So it's a pretty neat, way that we're able to do that. When we were looking at pork, and how that was going to work, we're the only ones on the island that do any type of farrowing. And so I wanted to figure out a way, how am I going to make this a sustainable cycle? So we knew we had beef. Then we looked into pork. Okay. Now we have a sustainable cycle of how to get pork. But to do that, you have to farrow. Like, I cannot go down to the local sale barn and pick up a few stalker piggies to send out. So that was the other part. Growing up, we always had goats. Well, I never kept a buck. We always did drive-by bucks, or bringing a buck from, well, now you have to keep your own bucks to go with your goat, and down the line with everything, whether it be even hatching chicks. How are we going to keep that cycle alive to keep it going? And then it wasn't until, was it 4 years ago, we brought in a Jersey calf. We went over. There was one that came up for sale on the mainland. So we got on the last ferry of the season, went over to the mainland, drove a few hours, picked her up, got back on the ferry, trailed her over on the boat to here. And so we have Maggie. Maggie had a heifer calf. So now we have two pregnant, they are both pregnant, I guess. Maggie's in milk. Ellie Mae's going to be in milk. And then we'll end up with a third. So we'll be milking 3 A2A2 cows by December. And that's that cream and that butter, items that go out of season. The people always ask, like, why you have goats? Why do you get cows? We love cream and we love butter. And honestly, my kids really love cow milk. So that's part of the whole process. So really it was, how can we be as sustainable as possible? And the last little piece of that, sorry, I'm talking a lot. The last little piece of that is Kodiak is a rock. We're known as the rock. We can't grow anything because we don't have any good soil. So with the animals, that helped supplement, and we started to build and create our own soil. So further, like, we can't grow zucchini or tomatoes or squash or bean, anything outside here. None of it lives. So it has to be undercover, which means you have to bring in your soil. So this past year was our first year 100% all compostable, which all started as manure, nitrogen and all that mixed together to make soil. And we had our first full-on garden of soil we made from hard work of mucking stalls. So trying to work on that whole cycle a little bit too.
I love this. You know what? I'm just in awe listening to you, because the tidbit that I got the most from you is that you're using what you have. You're using kelp. You're being creative. You're, thinking outside the box. And really, I think that's farming of the future. How can you use what you have to produce food? And I had an old hog barn on my property, and I took half the roof off, and I thought, it's just storage. So take the roof off, build a greenhouse. I did a hydroponic lettuce operation in an old pig barn. It was not pretty, but it produced lettuce, right? And so I love that, finishing your beef with kelp, just, and all the little pieces and details of how to just make your food sustainable. So if you got cut off for whatever reason from the mainland, you still have food, you still have babies, you still have, there's a cycle of life, a circle of life that you're producing right on your own little farm. And like, that is beautiful. And never mind the dollars and cents behind it. That is worth so much more than, the pennies, nickels, and dimes that you may or may not get from producing food like that. I love it. I want to ask too about your family. You talked about your boys.
Yeah.
How did family and family dynamics, and how does working together as a family, how does that work on a farm? Tell me about that.
That one's important to me a lot. When Stephen and I started to have our boys, and I was looking at, gosh, how do I teach them responsibility and quality of character and how to be thoughtful and like all these things. And I told him I married a city kid. Like he had a cat, I think. I mean, not farm kid at all. I was like, the best way that I can do this is on a farm with animals. And so, we flew in 2 little miniature Nubian goats, and that's what started this whole mess that we ended up with. But the boys have really grown up in the farm. Now my oldest is 15, and he was there and just old enough when we were starting the dairy that he knows the ins and outs of it. So since I've had kids, I've had 4 knee surgeries, and I had a knee replacement last year. He and my middle son ran the whole farm. They could run all the pieces of it. And so they've been part of the good, the bad, the ugly. Like my middle son, Landry, will tell you he will never have pigs because he's not dealing with that because he's been part of a couple of farrowing horror stories, but yet all at the same time last week when he was talking, he's like, Mom, I don't want to live in a city. I'm going to need a lot of land. I'm going to need some space. And he came up with that all on his own. And I was like, that's what I like to hear, and so the boys have, definitely been part of it. And this may not be a popular opinion. I have always said I don't play with my kids. I'm just not a play with your kids, Mom. I can't do, I mean, I can try, but I'm not really. But I may work together and get a job done. Like there's nothing I enjoy more than picking vegetables in the garden with the entire family. Or we're in the, and we'll let the chickens out. We're doing something. We let the chickens out or the pigs running around and we're all there together, doing something. Or gosh, I don't know how many times it's been like super late at night, putting bottles together to go bottle feed baby goats. And we're laughing in the barn when we all should be sleeping. And those are all things that have grown us together. And so then too, like we just had our little farm dog got a horrible cut yesterday. And this is my son's dog who's already had his fair share of trauma. Grayson's there. He's in the mix of it. He knows what he has to do. It's not leaving. We're not, this is our mess that we got to deal with now. And so they are just really special kids. They've seen all of our worst and best traits. They've seen me bawling my eyes out, being really tough on them. They're, I think, going to make fantastic husbands one day, hopefully. So they understand the whole milking situation very well. But it's important to me. I want to be inconvenienced by my kids. I want the slogan. I like this. The small farm life is what I want. I want it to be that we depend on our family. We don't, depend on other people. It's us. And we're going to make a go of this together. And it may not be Dad's thing, but you better bet he's going to come support Mom. And boys, you better get your butts out there and support your mom because this is what we do. And I love that my boys also laugh at people when they come. They're like, can we talk to your husband? And they're like, they clearly don't know that Mom runs the farm. And I'm like, well, they will very soon when they meet Dad. So let's go get him, real quick. And he'll be like, I don't know anything that's going on.
I really identify with that because, yeah, when I had my farm, so I had a 36,000 square foot hydroponic greenhouse. I did 20 acres of garden. I sold it all to farmers markets, and I identify with it. I've got 3 girls, teenage girls, 14, 16, and 18, and they worked with me. They came with me to farmers markets. We did it together as a team. And, sometimes there's grumbling and complaining, but my girls know how to work, and they were sought after now that we moved off that farm. They were sought after by other farms to sell for those farms. And so, because they know how to work, they know how to sell, they know how to stand there and say, hi, would you like to try a tomato? They know how to do it. It was a family affair. And so I really, really identify with that whole family piece, working together as a team and sometimes fighting together as a team and, just getting the job done. I love that. And the woman in farming business as well. Like I understand that. I would get salesmen, they'd come to my farm and they'd say, can I speak to the owner? And I'm like, right here. Or if I went to a farmer's market with a man that was like close to my age, the customers would talk to him as if he owned the farm. And then he would always just turn to me and say, well, actually, she owns the farm. So it is a whole dynamic and a bit of a Yeah, it's just a little different. And farm kids are just built differently. They know how to work, they know how to fix things, they know how to do things. I love it that your sons would just look after your farm while you had different things going on too. So, farm kids are built differently. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're good kids. Yep. Yeah.
Hey friends, on Dawn's Dirt, we get real about growing food, farming, homesteading, living free, and digging into the stuff that actually matters. If you're loving the dirt we're dishing out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite social media platforms. That's how we keep growing this community of badass, soil-covered, chicken-loving, freedom-chasing humans. Like and subscribe to me on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Come be part of the movement. Let's talk about raw dairy.
Sure.
Let's talk about that. I think raw dairy is a great subject to talk about next. So in Canada, I don't know if you know this little tidbit, raw dairy is actually 100% illegal. Like you're allowed to drink your own dairy. I have one goat that I'm currently milking on a daily basis. And so I have one goat that me and my family are allowed to drink that goat's milk, but I am not allowed to give it away. I am not allowed to sell it. I am not allowed to nothing. It's completely illegal. And whenever people bring up raw dairy, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get sick. You're gonna die. You're gonna." Blah, blah, blah." So talk to me about raw dairy and why'd you choose from regular dairy to raw dairy? Let's talk about raw dairy.
Sure. When I started, raw milk was illegal in Alaska, and you could do herd shares. So here, you can buy a share of a goat, and then you can get that milk. And you can do value added products as well. So cheese or ice cream or things. But I didn't want to do that. It's really tricky for me. I was like, I'm not going to have somebody actually own a piece of my goat or feel like I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. And so originally when I started, I still wanted to give milk to people. So that's where the grade A part came. I'm really thankful I did it because I built up the entire system that I needed to be able, I believe, to really do raw milk the right way. And I just think that raw milk gets such a bad rap, and it's not the milk's fault at all. It ends up being our fault because we don't necessarily take the time, energy, and effort needed. If you look at gosh, I need to be thoughtful about how I do it. Because again, you have to take a lot of cleanliness steps to ensure that your milk is in a good place that you're going to give to your customer. To where when you're pasteurizing that milk, I mean, it is true. Like, yep, you are not going to have some of the same pathogen, issues that would come if you have a pasteurized product, but yeah, you're also losing a bunch of the really fantastic parts of it. And so when I was a baby, my mom was diagnosed with MS, and they gave her 2 years to live. About that same time, my sister was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and had the whole failure to thrive diagnosis placed on her, was in the hospital. My mom got goats and started milking goats and began drinking raw milk. My mom left the hospital, and she was a registered nurse, left the hospital and decided that she was going to go a different way and really made food that medicine. She also started to give that milk to my sister, who could digest it, who didn't have any problems, who was able to gain weight. My sister today, she does not have Crohn's disease. You can say whatever you want. I will choose to believe what I want to believe. And I truly believe that milk helped heal her when it was still at such a critical point. My mom didn't have any symptoms of her MS until I was 16 years old. And she's still alive today. And here I am, 43. And so a lot of the things that I believed strongly in as a kid became legal. And that's what I said. I really want to give people the freedom of choice. And I firmly believe if we don't exercise the legal rights that we have, so this was legal for me to sell this raw milk. If I didn't do it, it was going to disappear. And so I will carry the mantle for Alaskans. We started on this raw milk journey. And again, I have systems set in place. You have to come to the farm. You need to sign a release, to on some of these things, understand what you're getting into. I think it's really fantastic. The people that are drinking my milk are local Alaskans too. So their environment is the same that my animal's environment is. You can say it's hocus pocus. For a number of years, being grade A, I was told again and again, there's no difference between a pasteurized product and a raw milk product. You can say that, but experience will prove otherwise with the folks that I am able to serve that were not able to digest milk that can drink my milk. And the only difference is that it's raw milk. So again, do what you will. I though so firmly believe that food freedom is very important. I'm so sad for like, I believe that if you want to go buy food from your neighbor, and if you want to swap, if you want to do this, and you are a conscious consumer and understand what you're getting into, why in the world? Like, how is it in this world that you can go buy alcohol and drug, like you can do all these things, and yet like there's this thing around raw milk, and truly only like 1% to 2% of the population drinks raw milk, and we have made it crazy. I mean, like, people have made it crazy, and it should not be. It just drives me a little nuts.
Absolutely. I can attest to the whole milk thing, raw dairy thing as well. So my daughters, if I've got two daughters, and if they get into like they get tummy problems if they have too much regular store-bought dairy, their tummy starts to hurt. But if they get some raw dairy into them, it almost like it resets their tummy, and then they're able to have some dairy products again. It's not hocus pocus. Like I know of another family that those kids, like, they got sick if they got any kind of dairy product, and then they had some raw dairy and magically it disappeared. Imagine that. So it's not hocus pocus, but I think there's so much control and regulation. And I agree with you 10,000%. We should be able to have the choice of what we put into our bodies. You know, if we want to buy that chocolate bar off the shelf, we should have the choice. If we want to buy the McDonald's, we should have the choice, or, you know, whatever it might be. Or if we want to have raw dairy and good beef, good kelp fed beef, or whatever it might be, right? We should have the freedom of choice to eat what we want to, and have access to it, and get the real good food, and, you know, support our friends and neighbors. And again, I personally have been calling out our food system for many, many years now, and I just feel like he who controls the food controls the people. And so we need to bring our food system back down into our communities, our friends and our neighbors, where you're seeing them in the coffee shop on a Saturday morning, and you can say, how is that milk you got, or how are those veggies, or how is that beef or pork or chicken or eggs, or whatever it might be, back down to the community. That's what we need more of. We need more small farmers. That's what Dawn's Dirt is about, more small farmers. That's why I love you. Yeah.
It is. I'm a huge advocate for lots of small farms. You know, I even look at that even on the raw milk dairy side. I think I don't want to serve everybody. I want to serve who I can, and then everybody else has to do their part a little bit. And the unfortunate reality is we just have lost the muscles to do those things. You know, we've been given so many times, you know, and I notice this now even as my boys are starting to get older and there are different things competing for time. Those things used to not be quite the same because kids were helping out on the farm, or you had your family structures in the evenings. You were going to eat together. You were going to do these things. Those things are not valued anymore. So what's valued? Oh, I'm going to go to the store so we can go watch this movie together. And again, that's where I'm like, no, what about whatever happened to like getting in and having ingredients in your kitchen and putting a meal together or working together for a common purpose? And then you have your incredible talents and abilities. I have mine. And then it's that community sustainability that goes back and forth. But, you know, it is interesting. There's one thing that everybody in the world has to do, and that's eat. And you're so right. If you can control your food, like, what's going to happen there? You know, one of the things that I truly noticed was, gosh, what happens if the planes don't come in and the boats don't sail? And all of a sudden, we didn't have any milk replacer on this island. I know some parents that would do absolutely anything to make sure their kids had food. And so who do you give up power to at that point? You know, that's, you know, here having a small little dairy, if you can find the people that are motivated to do it, golly, support them and just keep pushing forward on it?
No, 100%. During COVID, I was a vegetable farmer during COVID, and I had people coming to me because we had the toilet paper wars. I had people coming to me saying, "You have food, right? You have food, right?" And the hardest part about selling my large scale farm, I've got, I did up to 1,000 chickens on this little property this year, but the hardest part about selling my big farm was, how am I going to feed all of the people? How am I going to feed the community? Because people were afraid. They were afraid. What are they going to eat if things go crazy? And I don't think they were that out of line to be a little bit afraid. And so, yeah, I assured them, and I said, well, if things ever really go crazy, just come on out to the farm. We'll figure it out from there. And so that's what that food security, that food sovereignty, even the connection to your food. I love that you have the farmers market at your place. Like, it's the connection. I feel like I brought a chicken to the farmers market this year because I was bringing my chicken and eggs to the farmers market, and I brought chicken, a live chicken, and she was older. She was maybe in her 60s, and she's like, I don't think I've ever seen a chicken before. And I was like, what? Like, that's
Oh.
crazy to me. Like, we need that connection to our food back again. Food doesn't come from a grocery store. Food comes from farms, and it's back down to, and I love the part where you're talking about your family as well, where you're talking about sitting at the table and eating food. It's starting with your own family as your community, and then reaching out to your community from there and building those relationships. And I
Right.
think that's the direction that I would like to see our global food system go back to, is know your local farmer and support them. Eat seasonally, eat locally, eat what you have,
Yeah.
and have, yeah. Except that, sorry, I can't give up my coffee. I saw your video about you like sitting with your goats drinking the coffee. So yeah,
I cannot. That is a staple for me. Coffee is a big one. Oh,
absolutely.
yeah,
For
I'm a
sure.
big
Coffee in
fan.
the barn in the morning. Is that what you
Oh,
do? Coffee in the barn in the
well,
morning as you're milking?
I try and down that before I head out the door. And then I used to not. It's interesting. I used to take it and go, and now I was like, no, I'm going to enjoy a cup of coffee before I walk out of the house, because inevitably it ends up spilt somewhere. And so if I haven't done that, and then it ends up getting, it's a tricky
Yeah.
situation. Anyway.
Are you sitting on a farm or homestead that could be making you real money? Tired of guessing on how to market your products? I owned a 36,000 square foot greenhouse. I ran 2 farm to table stores. I had 30 people on payroll. I brought in $2.5 million in gross revenue in 2020, selling farm goods directly to customers. Now I teach farmers and homesteaders how to make money and save money off the land they already have. Whether you're selling eggs, beef, produce, baked goods, or anything in between, if you want to get into direct marketing and grow your sales, I'm the girl for you. Stop leaving money on the table and start putting it into your bank account. Join me at Dawn's Dirt Business Coaching, and let's make your farm pay you back. Okay, so I'd love to talk about the ins and outs of the details of how you farm. So you talked about your beef and having them on another island, which is kind of, that boggles
Yeah.
my mind. But let's talk about your dairy. So you've got your goats, you've got your cows, and you're milking them. Milk twice a day, once a day. Do you have a parlor? Do you have a stanchion? Do you, like, can you walk us through a day in your dairy?
Yeah. My days start pretty early, but I make my way to the dairy, and we're in kind of the better sweet spot of the season. Summer's really crazy because we have all the baby goats, and I feed back 100% of my milk to the goats, so we're sharing. Having A2 cows is great because I can use that cow milk for all my baby goats too. But we have it's a little micro dairy, and we took what was nothing. I mean, it was just a blank space, and we put in the little water lines and made a tiny little thing, and everything has to be flown in or by boat, or we make it. And so we found scrap metal. We made ourselves our own longer milking stand that now is retrofitted so I can milk a cow and goats. So morning start, and I normally pull my cow in first, and we said, well, that's going to jump up to 3 cows by December. But I milk Maggie first, and then I have to determine, because I have a 15-gallon tank. that I use. So I have to decide, am I going to do goat milk today? Am I going to do cow milk today? Is, which milk's going to go to the pigs? That's part of the whole deal. Every animal helps the other. And it's that old school way of doing things. And so, like this morning, it's raw milk day. Or our farm shop's open. So I kept Maggie's, all of her milk in the morning, and I put that in my tank right away, and I start chilling that down. I milk the goats. The goat milk today was going towards the pigs, and so I start fermenting that to go with our pig feed for the week. And normally then I race through and do all the other chores around the farm, and get everybody taken care of. While the milk's chilling, go down, get my kids up, get them to school. And then I run back and I bottle everything and get it down to the shop. And I have to, the labeling is one of those things. So we do everything from very start to very finish here, so whether it be birthing the goats, I'm milking them, I'm the processor. And so then I am also the bottler. I'm the transporter down to the shop. I make the labels. I put the labels on. And like tonight, we have basketball practice. So my 13-year-old son will be running the farm shop tonight while folks come in. I do have a situation, a way that some people will pre-order. And so that kind of works nice for all of us. They'll just send me a little text with what they want for the week, and I can put their orders together. And then the rest of it's just walk in and they hope that they have what they need. I do fluid milk. So I do A2A2 fluid milk and goat milk. And then I also have a pasteurized product for those folks that want to buy local, but just are freaked out about it. So I want everybody to have the freedom of choice. I want you to get to choose what you want and what you're comfortable with. I do, especially in the summer, I do a lot of chevre and feta and whipped feta. That is not quite so much come the winter time. And then I do skyr, goat milk and cow milk skyr. Originally, when I was grade A certified, I wanted to do yogurt, and it was illegal. So grade A world here, it's illegal to take what would be a fluid and put your hand on the lid to put your lid on a container. Yogurt is, it's just one of those things. Yogurt's considered a fluid. So I would have had to have gotten a different system with the containers to put it on. Skyr is technically a cheese, but it's really just like a delicious Greek yogurt, but it has a little bit of rennet in it. So for me, I figured out, I can get around this law and make this, and then I can put my hand on the top and put the lid on. And it has ended up becoming one of our community's most favorite things ever, is our goat milk and cow milk skyr. And it's our families too. So that's a huge staple that we have. And then we got into making goat milk ice cream. And this is really, really big in the summer, especially during farmers market season. We have 12 different flavors of goat milk ice cream that we make, and we scoop it out and sell it direct from farm. And so I have one other young lady that will help me from time to, or she helps in the evening milking. And then I told her, I said, I'll keep doing ice cream, Allie, if you help me make the ice cream, because I will put it liquid form, but you have got to churn it up and put it in the containers for me. So she will come in and do that part of the dairy process. She's on vacation right now, so it's me doing all the items right now, and then on the weekends my boys help right now, but they're in school. In the summer they're full bore helping all the way.
I love that. And I love the bureaucracy story. Like I personally don't do well with bureaucracy. I've got I got a pretty big personality, and don't tell me what to do. I'm a little like that. So, I love the bureaucracy story that you figured out a way to be within the rules. So you're still following the rules, but you're still doing what you want to. And I've got a little story with that. So I had a farm store in the city of Calgary, and the health inspector came, and I had my farm eggs that I wanted to sell in this store. And she said, well, you can't do that because they're uninspected eggs and the rules say you can't. And I said, yeah, but it's my store and it's my farm and these are my eggs, so I should be allowed to. And she just had a hard line in the sand. No, you cannot do this. And I said, well, okay, that's fine. We won't put them in the store, but we need to figure out how I can do this. So what I came up with, again, creativity, And we were well within inside the rules. I got this shitty old fridge, ugly, so no one was going to steal it, and I put it right outside the door of my farm store, my farm to table store, and I said, "Okay, it's not inside the building, so this is where my eggs are going to go." And she said, "As long as those eggs don't come inside the building, you can do whatever you want outside of the building." And I said, "Perfect." And so that's how we were within the rules, but outside of the rules all at the same time. And it's about that creativity. That's what business is, being creative, trying to think outside the box, trying to take your pipes that you were talking about that you bent and
Yeah.
just doing what works for your farm. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't even have to be pretty. That fridge was not pretty, but it sure wasn't stolen then, right? So
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I remember when I was getting, and trying to figure out all these laws and things, I'm like, tell me the law. Just tell me the law, and I will figure out a way to make this work. Just tell me exactly what it is. And then, there's a certain point you're like, okay, yep, I am within the bounds, and we're not going to talk about it. Like, I'm done. And maybe I'll get in trouble for that one day, but today I'm okay still. So,
well, and I just like here in Canada, people always say, well, make raw dairy legal, make raw dairy legal, make raw dairy legal. But this is not a very popular opinion. I personally, this is me, I think we should keep raw dairy illegal in Canada, but see more micro dairies pop up because, if you've got 50 of them as opposed to one of them, are you going to go and catch all 50? Or are you going to catch 100 of them, 200 of them, 1,000 of them? We need more of this to pop up and just say, we're not following your rules. Because if it becomes legalized, then the government is going to take their stamp and their,
yep.
bureaucratic whatever and put rules and regulations in place to make it A, cost more, and B, it's going to be unattainable again to some people. And
Yeah.
that's not right. It's freedom
I
of choice.
Yeah, I really want to be careful about that. Again, I see all the all the stuff about talking about, oh yeah, legalizing raw milk or speaking towards it. And I really want to say, like, I love the direct from farm sale. Like, I'm gonna go to your farm and leave us alone. Leave me alone. I was under grade A law. I followed those things. Do you want to legalize raw milk? I do not, because I fell underneath all of the government regulations. I don't want to do that. I want to be free, and I want to sell to my neighbors, and I want to I want to barter back. Like, I have one gentleman, we exchanged I'm not making sourdough bread. Lord, I am not. But he is, and I will give him milk forever if he gives me. And I have my other good friend, she helps raise calves. I will give her milk forever if I don't have to always bottle feed a calf and 30 baby goats all summer long. There are really good exchanges. Again, I just want the hands off. I just want you to leave us alone. Let us make our decisions.
Yeah, for sure. I am with you there 100%. Like, less bureaucracy, less rules. Just get out of my business. Let me work with my community. Let's build relationship. And when you have a relationship with someone, if something did ever go sideways, I had it with my tomatoes. Sometimes people would say, "Oh, the bag of tomatoes," and I said, "Here's another bag, no problem."
Yep.
Replaced it up, no questions asked, because it's about the relationship. The relationship meant more to me than the bag of tomatoes, and so I don't need government telling me what I can and cannot do. And that's the whole reason why I ended up 100% at farmers markets, is because I could not, would not, did not want to follow the bureaucratic, you know, rules and regulations to sell to the warehouse and the grocery store. Like, thank you very much. You don't get my product. I'm out, right? I got a strong personality, and I think that's why I'm so attracted to you too. You're very say it like you see it, and I really appreciate this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in closing here, any words of wisdom? If someone wanted to get into dairy or into a farm or farm to table sales, or, starting with, their community, what's some words of wisdom that you would give a young entrepreneur, a young farmer or old entrepreneur that wants to get into business, farm to table? Give some words of wisdom here from your experience.
Um, I'm a big fan of doing it messy. You are never going to have it all together. Just do it, and do it messy, and it will clean itself up along the way. Like, yep, at time like I have to go down there and put little rubber bands around my labels to put them, like, that is clunky. I get it. I'm going to do it messy though, because I'm not going to get hung up on labeling. I'm not going to let that hang me up. And then the other one is you don't have to know everything. I feel like there's so many things I don't know how to do. And the more I get into everything, the years I get into it, the more I'm like, I really don't know what the heck I'm doing. I thought I knew everything. I don't know anything. You don't have to know, but you have to know the right people. And then I always say you have to have the courage to be able to ask for help. Like just yesterday, like my dog's leg is gashed open. This is clearly beyond my know-how. We have one vet on this island that charges too much. I'll go out of my mind. So I'm going to call in the best vet I know, which is the nurse practitioner that's my friend across the road, who's going to call in the doctor that delivered my youngest son, who's now helped deliver how many pigs. And I'm going to trade her, maybe I should, but trade her beef for help. And we're going to sit on my kitchen floor together. And I'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. I will give you all the beef and milk and anything that I can. So admitting, nope, I don't have the right answers. I have the courage to ask somebody that does, and then make it right. Again, help your neighbor. Just be willing to have the resources that you have. It does not have to be money. Like, you don't have to have money to make this work. You just have to be willing to kind of barter and figure it out and work together. And I think you made the comment, always lead with the kindness side of it. Like if something doesn't work, don't think I'm going to lose $10 on this milk. Give them new milk. It's going to be the biggest return that you'll ever you will never regret the generosity side of it. So those are all my little things, my little words, I guess.
I love that, and I couldn't agree wholeheartedly more because we've got the same value system. That's how I ran my farm, and I want to quote Dakota Cohen. He's a farmer in Alberta here. He said, "Not everyone should be a farmer, but everyone should be a producer." And I love how you are using your nurse friend or your doctor friend or your dentist friend or whatever skill set or however you can produce in society, that is what you are able to produce, and that is a barter tradable skill set or item or whatever it might be to make our communities and our systems go round. We don't just need all the dollars. We need our people. That's
Right.
what we really need. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
I love it.
those are the folks that are going to be there supporting you. That if the government shows up and there's some type of something that's going on, they're the ones that are going to community around you to help support you through a tricky time.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been such a pleasure today. You are amazing. I appreciate that you are a strong-willed woman farming and serving your community and serving your friends and neighbors, and I really appreciate your time today. So where can people find you? What's your social media, Instagram, blah, 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 blah? Because I've watched some of your social media. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We try and keep it lighthearted and fun. It's at Kodiak Goat Dairy. And then we have a little Instagram page, The Last Small Farm, which goes into, we're the last of the small farmers out there. But those are really Kodiak Goat Dairy is my main thing on Instagram that I do. And then, yeah, that's about it.
Love it.
I can only focus in on like one of those little things at all.
Yeah. I know. I love it. I love it. And that's where I got that bear story. So that's amazing. Go take your pail and go find the bear.
Yeah. I always joke that people are really there for Steven, my husband, because he just keeps things funny. So anyway.
Hilarious. It's a family affair. Well, thank you so very much for your time today. Really appreciate you being on the show. And yeah, this has probably been almost one of my favorites.